Hi,
Okay.
everyone. I'm Jill,
Hi, I'm Farah.
and we're doing a Facebook Live again. We haven't done one. I don't think we did one last month.
No, because it's summer. But also, we should say we're Simplify Homeschool, and
We
you can
should say
find
that.
us. We should. Uh, you can find us here in this group, College Confident Homeschoolers. You can also find us at Simplify Homeschool, and you can, etc. We have a presence on the social medias and the
It's
things
a
that
little low
stream
presence
content.
right now
It's
because
a little low right
I
now.
got a little burned out, but it'll go back up at some point.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe.
it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And we're
And
here
we
to
are
answer all the
all
dumb
questions.
questions.
I think they're actually most of them are really good
I know.
questions.
I was there were a couple where I was like, oh, we've answered this a lot. And it is, from our perspective. But even then, like, if you're new to this and like new to high school or college applicant, like, of course, it's not a dumb question because
Yeah.
why would you know? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely. Also, just want to say, because someone asked me, all of our Facebook Lives, and sometimes we do other talks and things that are not on Facebook and videos, are all on YouTube on our channel. So you can find them there. They always used to be in our group, but Facebook's taken them down. So really, YouTube's the best place to look for them.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we are.
And it'll post there in like a day. It takes a little while to get it and post it and stuff.
Yep.
All right. So I can't believe we started before our time. It's 5 o'clock where I am, but it's noon where you are. And I think some people on the West Coast, it's 9
I think
in
we
the
should pat
morning.
ourselves on the back. That's the shoulders, but there we
No,
go.
no, I have EDS. I can reach my back and touch my fingers. It's a
The
little bit
human
of a
tricks.
party. It's a party trick.
Mhm.
I'm really good at
Okay.
parties. And I think what
You
we'll do
are
is just start.
actually.
I am good. I'm really good at parties. Should we just
So
start with first questions, or what
dive
do you want? Or
in.
do you want to talk about anything? What are you doing
Um,
homeschooling wise right now? What are you doing with our business right
I'm working with students on essays. That's kind
now?
of, I also just like this morning ran through most of our client list and checked to see if any students were applying to colleges that really heavily consider demonstrated interest or offer admissions interviews over the summer or early fall that they should sign up for now. And then I was messaging students about that, like, hey, here's your 3 schools. Most schools
Yeah.
don't do this anymore. Like public
No.
schools almost never do. And
Yeah.
these
They
like,
don't have time for
I,
it, really.
no, but it's really pretty informal. It really is more of a like, hey, this is, a way to, have a conversation and do some
Yeah.
demonstrated interest and engagement
Yeah.
around the school. So it's really as much sales for them as it is like, a lot of them are
So
not
it's for
really
the students. A
evaluative.
little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're not heavily evaluative. They're more like a chance for the student to show
Yeah.
themselves off. But anyway, if they offer them, it's a good thing to do. So this is in my mind the time to check for that. Yeah.
I'm doing parent paperwork right now.
Mhm.
I'm drowning in it, but it's really good. It's a great time to be doing your paperwork if your student is applying to college.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's a benefit to your student that you get to control the paperwork. So you should see it that way. And we're spending lots of time on that. Looking at college, doing some last minute college list tweaking. I saw that University of San Diego just opened up ED and EA. Did you see that?
Oh, I did.
And they released their essays, and one's different.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of essays come out, and I'm seeing a lot of tweaks of a particular prompt. The community prompt I'm seeing change.
Yeah,
But
there's
I
change.
think I think it's a lot of those were difficult, so it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah, so that's what we're working on. I'm in England, if anyone doesn't know, and I just had Aaliyah visit, who's one of our teachers at Moth. And that was fun. And we made a bunch of videos for Moth. So I was doing that. And I think we're getting ready to start classes in August. Summer's going by super quick.
Yeah,
It's too quick.
okay, road trip. Maybe I'll hit a college or two.
Oh, I've just been stuck. Well, no, I was in the south of France. No, I'm not really. I've been traveling. Yeah.
I was
Let's be
going to say, you
realistic.
definitely.
Let's be honest.
I was like, I went to Canada, but like, you're like, I went to the south of France.
I had to swim, so I had to get to the mud. Okay, I'm just going to do questions in order that they're on here. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
And so it's no particular or anything. I'm confused about the homeschool extras on the Common App. Some schools want course descriptions or a resume, and I think those get uploaded with the transcript as an additional item. No. What will all schools my student applies to have access to these? What about things like a graded research paper or an explanation or essay about why our family decided to homeschool? Once we apply to a college, do places show up to add these things that are specific to each college, or do we just add them to the Common App and all colleges will have access? This is a good question, actually. This is
Yeah.
the parent. A lot of this is the parent paperwork that I was just talking about. If you're doing the Common App.
Yeah, some of that. But I feel like we have to tease some of this out. First of all,
Yeah.
watch our video about how to upload your paperwork to the Common App because it actually answers some of this as well.
Which we may be updating that video.
Yeah, I think it may look different because Common App's getting a big update, but we won't know until August. We'll try to get on that really quickly. And then, yeah, I would say the resume is for the student. That's definitely not on you. You shouldn't be uploading that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely student.
And if they ask for one,
not all schools want resumes.
No, I've seen them come back a little bit in the last couple of years. I'm not totally sure why, but like if a school asks for it, give it to them. But like beyond that, it's usually the activity list. You know, they ask a bunch of questions in the Common App, but most of the time it's better to have done your paperwork and just have a line in it that just says, see the school profile, see the course descriptions, because it just is very awkward to try to format it. Oh no, did I freeze? Oh no, my internet is being bad. Oh my gosh, it's like really being bad. Yeah, you start talking about it.
We'll just pause. We'll pause.
Oh my gosh, why is it being so bad? I don't even know.
Come back if you need.
It's the fireball that was on the corner, maybe.
Usually it's really funny. Usually it's my.
I know. Oh, okay. I'm gonna switch.
To me, it was really right now, and she did have a fireball last night come out of the street. So that's what that was. It could actually be that. I mean, that was a huge. You're better now. Okay.
Good. I'm gonna assume maybe that's it. Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy, you guys. The whole street exploded. We're all fine.
I get a message frantically on Slack.
It was crazy as boom.
No one got hurt in that fire explosion.
No, it seems like it was like underground and exploded some manholes. Anyway, yeah, DC News. Okay,
DC. Okay, keep going.
So the Common App has a bunch of questions where they ask you some of these things, and it's usually best to say, like, refer to your paperwork, like see this, see that, and then upload the paperwork. You'll answer a lot of this stuff in there. Graded paper, that's again on the student. That's like the resume. If they ask for it, that's for the student to provide. You know, some schools do have a form or something that they ask for, and students can, you or the student, whoever is being asked, can upload it in the portal or can just contact admissions and they just want you to email it. You know, in terms of the like why you homeschooled, that should go into your school profile essentially. But it shouldn't be an essay. It should be, you know, a couple lines. It really keep it brief.
And don't go back to kindergarten unless it's just one little short sentence. They don't want to know that. They want to know high school information. I just put a link in the group to our Common App video, so you can review that. Okay. I think we answered that, right? Mike, if a kid plays a lot of in-depth history video games, think Civilization, etc., Age of History, etc., can this either be a class or an activity? He does play with another kid some of the time. Given the time involved and the real learning involved, I was wondering. But I also don't want to look bad somehow. He's not interested in game design or coding or anything. He is very interested in history, geography as a possible path. But as a rising ninth grader, it's too early to tell. Oh, I wouldn't even worry about this activity yet as a rising ninth grader.
I
mean, you can just note it down. You can note it down and keep records, but it's not something.
I would say this is the kind of thing to round out the activity list, or if there's some additional like research you know, history and you know, gamification of history or something. I mean, I do think you could do something with it, but like I would just see how things unfold.
Yeah, it's so early on. I saw AP Environmental Science recommended as an earlier AP. Should a student have taken biology and chemistry before taking that course? This is the same parent.
It's places require it, yes. Like the course provider requires it.
Yeah.
But I have heard of students doing it in ninth grade, having had like a robust, like, I mean, you shouldn't do in ninth grade any AP unless your student is academically ready and advanced a little bit. I mean, they don't have to be crazy advanced, but they have to be ready for really strong high school level work. But I've definitely heard of students doing it, especially at home study or through other providers that don't have those requirements in ninth grade, and it's fine. So.
Um, mm, okay, so then a lot of people
Are you
answered the next
editing?
question.
Are you
Okay,
editing these? What's happening? Are you
maybe.
making up these questions? Do these questions exist? Are they actually online?
Why are Jill and Farrah so cool? No, okay, that would be my makeup. I am in a state where it is very difficult to get a seat for AP exams. I have called and emailed numerous high schools and they do not respond. Are there any alternatives other than going out of state for the AP exams? What do college admissions think when they see an AP course with no corresponding exam? You can do AP courses without the exam, absolutely. The course helps a lot with admissions. The score helps once you get there.
Except for an international admissions.
Except for international admissions, which is a whole different ballgame. And you need, and then with international admissions, it's very specific exams and very specific time period of when you're taking them. But you can absolutely do AP coursework without your students sitting for the exams.
You still get a bump and they are not questioning. I feel like people are constantly like, but surely they're wondering, where's the score?
Right.
No. For all that, I mean, and you can even say in your paperwork, like we wanted access to like high quality, rigorous courses, which is why we chose AP. But locally, we couldn't find an exam seat. Like nobody would open up for us. Like that's
it just wasn't available. It wasn't an option because it's not available. That happens sometimes.
In terms of options, like if you can't find a seat, you just can't find a seat. You're kind of screwed.
Yeah,
and I hate to say that. I mean, if you have the resources to travel, do that. I would say, focus on asking in local groups. Hey, where have people found AP exam seats or PSAT?
Yeah,
it's going to be the same process. And see what people say. Like, you can offer to pay. Like, you can offer to pay these schools and see if that gets you somewhere. Yeah.
That's not too equity though for families that can't afford that.
No, it's not. It's really crappy. I hate to say it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm very nervous about homeschooling all through high school. We have reviewed the high school graduation requirements for our school district, admissions requirements for universities they are likely to apply for, and made a plan. Something that throws us is that a college course that's worth 3 to 4 credits is only worth half a credit at the local high school. When making our when making our transcript, should we use the school district's conversion rate or can we use 3 to 4 college credit equals 1 high school credit? Absolutely.
I have to rant about this because it doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense. A full schedule for a college student is usually 4 or maybe 5 courses. Okay. So that's it, 4 or 5. A full schedule for a high school student is like 7 courses. So if they're only worth half a credit, then a high schooler who is doing dual enrollment has to carry 50% more coursework than a college student in order to carry a full high school load. And that is insane. It's just stupid.
Well, no, it's insane.
The math does not work on that. And so that's why. And sometimes those courses are honestly kind of light. They could be half a credit, but other times they're not. And I just think the easiest way to deal with it is make them all 1 credit. And I'm going to guess that this person lives in Florida, and that's stupid. I'm calling everything dumb today. This is my new thing. I'm like a toddler. I'm a 3-year-old. I'm the 3-year-old. Why did I not get the red popsicle?
Oh my God, everything's stupid. I'm just tired. So
I think this is why we shouldn't do Facebook Lives in summer.
We probably shouldn't do them It is so hot here. There's no air condition. The windows open like this much because it's like this old building. I just want to
Oh.
punch the windows and open them up. But anyway, so I'm just like,
I
we
usually
died for
keep
some
my
air conditioning.
drapes closed to like keep the heat out, but I had to open it
To
so
be
it wouldn't look
clear,
like
there
I
are
was going
no
to
drapes.
cave.
There
I
are no
know.
drapes on these windows. I mean, just to be clear, this is like an old orphanage from like, I don't know where. You know what I found out about this building? It's
Wasteful.
It was an orphanage first, and it was designed by the same person who designed Parliament. Yeah. Did you know that? I found that out. I found some
Yeah.
history out. Yeah. Yeah.
Enjoyed.
So it's beautiful, but it's hot. Okay. I'd love to know your advice for students who are looking to pursue more specialized college admissions. Our daughter, who's a rising ninth grader, is thinking about liberal arts colleges, major universities, and also the possibility of BFA programs. Wonderful. She's thinking about it all. This is really good. My hope is to create a high school experience that keeps as many doors open as possible. Yep. Given how interests change over the high school years. But I know nothing about BFA admissions, auditions, etc. So I love your recommendations for learning more. First of all, it's good. Rising ninth grader, keep as many doors open as you can. You have no idea what's going to happen. And if you're one of those like type A parents who plan everything all the way through graduation, just know that's going to go out the window at some point, most likely for almost all students. But you really should plan that up ninth grade, sophomore year, just we're keeping all the doors open. And then think about BFA though. So we're working with some students who are thinking about that. So what's your advice for that?
I guess I would just sort of say that like whatever the art is, performing arts or, visual arts or whatever, the most BFA programs, not all, but most require some sort of a portfolio or audition process. And particularly for portfolio process like that, you just need to be building towards it. Same thing for audition. Like you can't be like you have to be planning for that, particularly by junior year, because by the summer after junior year, you have to have all the pieces in place, be scheduling the auditions, like that. It's so. I do think that this is kind of rough, honestly, on students who aren't sure what they want to do. Like, do I want to go into art? Do I want to, go study psychology? I mean, do I want to become a doctor? I mean, whatever it is, like that they're choosing between. I do think that this is a little bit hard because, the BFA prep path requires a lot of students for at least if they're looking at like top kind of options.
Tippy tops.
Yeah, that is time consuming and can take away from academics. And then academics, obviously, like if you're aiming at more selective schools, that's going to take away time from, to sit and do a bunch of drawings and figure out what's going to go in a portfolio or,
I do think
hours of dance or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I think a liberal arts school is a really good goal things can change, but a good goal for students who aren't quite sure what they want to do. And specializing in one area can help. It'll go on activity lists, and you can have a bunch of electives in that area. Even if you decide to major in something else, it's okay. It shows commitment all through high school, and that's helpful. But you really, if it's BFA, you just need stuff by the time you graduate.
I would say, end of 10th grade, like before summer 10th grade. So you got a little time. You kind of need to decide, are you going to aim for that BFA program? Still check all the boxes, et cetera, and you can pull back on that, but like if that's where the student is headed, that's the time to like do a summer program for that or, spend the summer working on, the skill or the pieces for the portfolio. Yeah.
I was just looking at our glasses. They're on point. They're really
thank you.
Good.
Yours are. I was complimenting them earlier.
Yeah, mine are Elton John. Which is so embarrassing, but I love them. They have stars right here. Elton John frames. Okay. If using outside educational partners, how do you convert the credits on a transcript? I will use one full credit, half credit scale. For example, OHS lists credits as 1, 2.5, or 5. Do I just attach the outside transcript so my transcript, but on my transcript, I list the credits however I want? Yeah. That's
exactly not however you want. Have a conversion rule, but
have a conversion, but you get to decide. You're the school. You're the school.
Yeah.
I remember well, I tell families this a lot. Like, you're in charge of these things and you're in charge of the transcript, And I remember when I was young, I transferred from a high school in one state to a high school in another state. And I thought my transcript looked so good at my original. And when they converted it onto my new high school's transcript, it looked like I hadn't done anything that I didn't get. I got different credits and different things were called different things. And I mean, that's just the right of the school. They can do what they want with it, really.
Yeah.
Same way with homeschool. My son has taken 8 years of piano and competed annually. With adding more high school courses, we were going to stop formal lessons and let him continue on his own. But now I'm second guessing that we should use piano for a fine arts credit. Would it be okay to count summer as a semester and only do first semester of high school to get our one credit in fine arts? Also, we took Algebra 1 in 8th grade. How do I include that on the transcript? Also, would like to learn more about, okay, yeah. So piano, that's hard.
I mean,
it's not hard. I mean, you can do a fine arts credit.
Yeah, you can do it that way. That's
if they don't want to do piano anymore, if your son doesn't.
If you're in California, you should do a fine arts credit because it's required by the UCs. In other states, it's pretty rare to see that as a requirement. There is some other state that kind of likes it, but I can't even remember. Like, it's just not.
It is required in California.
Common. It is in California. So if you're in California, you should do that. Or, if you're in an adjacent state and you think your kid's going to go to college in California, I would do that. Other than that, you don't have to have fine arts credits at all, really. And even if for a student who's like last minute, like decides like they could just add something senior year, it won't necessarily hold them back. I mean, I think it's not bad to have something like that on the transcript, but it also can be a really good activity. I mean, I don't know.
It can be an excellent activity. Yeah.
When students are just starting out, like for high school, like and finding their groove, I think it's good to let them try some different activities, let them figure out who they're going to be. None of that 8 years of piano before high school counts for anything.
No, I would say one thing I'd say that I think a lot of parents don't quite understand, because you get so nervous right before 9th grade and you're like, am I doing it right? And what counts as what is just keep records. When your student goes to apply, like before senior years, when you'll probably be working on all the paperwork, you can make a lot of decisions then. You can be like, oh, he really dropped piano. He didn't do much to it, but he did enough to get a credit. So I'm going to put it as fine arts. But it's not an activity at all because he never picked it up again, or vice versa. You do not have to decide these things right now at all.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really helpful to keep in mind, because that takes the pressure off you a little bit.
So even the lessons, like, they're not required for you to give the credit. Like, they can, a student can self-study something. I mean, it's,
Yeah, absolutely. You've recommended weighting grades because it helps our kids as compared to public school kids. That's not always the reason why. It's not the comparison necessarily.
Yeah.
But what about honors? If we don't do honors, isn't that a disadvantage? Once again, comparing them to public school transcripts. Your kids aren't really they're not going to compare them to public school kids. That's not how it's working. When homeschoolers are in a very different lane from the public school students, and they're being compared differently. And homeschoolers have been applying to colleges for so long in this country and have a huge track record that you need to stop thinking about it. Oh, what's the local public school doing constantly? Because that's not the comparison that's going to happen. And with honors at a school means something. A school can explain it in the school profile. They offer different levels of coursework. Honors is one level. At homeschool, honors may not mean anything, really. And it's AP definitely means something, but honors, it's just not giving the boost you think it's giving.
Like, when we work with clients on making these decisions, we do sometimes have clients who use honors and weight that. Like, so just to be clear, there's not like a single answer to this, but it's not, it just is not, it's not doing the same thing that it's doing in school where they're stacked up against these other students and they have these specific offerings. And in particular, like I think the other day, and I think this question may have referenced something that I said too. I know there was one that did, in particular, like the number one thing you want to avoid is like the random honors classes, because if you offer honors in your school, because you're a school, then that needs to be a consistent offering throughout high school. And you can't just be like, well, we we only offer the honors when it blah, blah, blah. And so like one year they've got honors this, and the next year they've got honors completely different. And one year they've got 4 honors classes, and then another year they have none, because it's just sort of like you were trying to use the best materials. And it's what it,
Yeah.
don't do that, because then it looks weird. Like they don't understand it. Even if you've explained it in your profile, it will look weird. And so whatever you end up doing, keep it really consistent, and build like a story around it. But
Yeah.
that can just be like saying like that all your academic coursework was at an honors level. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And also just so everyone knows, sometimes schools take your GPA calculation and use it, and that's that. But a lot of schools are recalculating based on their own method. So just to know that. If your teen is interested in a highly selective school, but would be happy at other schools, that's a good thing. They'd be happy at other schools. How do you recommend balancing the unique homeschool experience and having the right classes? I understand the teen that really feels like it is highly selective or bus molding their high school track for that application. But for kids that are more open in their school choices, I struggle with how much the highly selective ideal application should dictate the high school trajectory. I mean, first of all, just to let everyone know, if depending on how selective a school is, if it's a lottery school, there's no guarantee for admissions no matter what you do. For every single student, it is that hard. The admission rate is so small. And so I think you need to find a balance. Some students are really driven and they can do all this AP coursework and they can do, amazing activities that take tons of hours and they're able to balance it all, but other students cannot. And I think for the high school experience, you don't want the goal to just be getting into college. You want them to be able to explore interests. You want them to have time for friends. You want them to have time for activities that are meaningful to them. Teens need downtime. I mean, there's really got to be a balance. On the flip side, there is things you can do for this.
I think that the kid has to drive this. You
I
can't do it
yeah.
for them. If they're driven, the students, I feel like I've met two types of students who would like to go to, a name school that's really hard to get into. And, one type just likes the idea of the name, and they're not actually interested in doing the things that lead to that. And when they are, they're the very surface things. They're just kind of checking boxes because they think it's going to lead to that. The other type of student is just driven inside themselves to do a lot and engaged in a ton. Like they want to do more coursework. They want to do outside the box activities and big projects. And those are the types of students who are way more likely to land at that.
And I find those students don't always necessarily have the goal of tippy top schools.
Yeah.
They're just that student.
They're just that student. Absolutely. Yeah. And so you have to, you just, and I think it can be a pretty frank conversation. Like, if this is your goal, then or if this is a possible goal, because you can't count on it, so they have to want to do it for its own sake as well. They have to want to do it.
And they should know that you can't count on it.
Exactly. Like they should understand that, like, okay, if I, take these extra classes, if I, push myself and try to, self-publish this book or do this research project or, whatever it is, that is going to be their, one of their big things. You got to have more than one, or, do this sport and do this thing, like whatever it is, that it has to be for my own enjoyment, because it may not, I'm sure it will lead to a good college, but it may not lead to the name college that they're thinking of. And so they have to want to do it for itself.
I would also say that there's so many students who only know the name colleges. They're reading books or they're seeing it online, and they haven't had a chance to really explore other colleges. And they get it in their mind that they've got to go, to Harvard or whatever it is, because they've read a character who's done it, and often in these YA books, the students going through turmoil and they just have the goal of this school. And at the very end, even though it seems like they haven't done much school during the whole story, they get the letter and they get in, or the email. It's not like that. and they're exposed students in ninth and 10th and junior year to other colleges. It'll help them so much and get excited about these other schools.
And you be excited about them too.
Yes.
Like, don't, I can't tell you how many times like parents are like, oh, that's, and that rubs off on kids. If they think that you think that that would be a failure, then they'll think, if I get into this school, then I'm a failure. And sometimes the parents have an impression that was formed circa like 1992 or something that has never changed about a school that's now like got a 20% admit rate. And the parents are like, but that's like a party school for losers, and it's.
I may have had this conversation recently.
Oh God, I was not even thinking of anyone specific. That's pretty funny.
I'm just joking. I didn't have that.
Okay, good. But I mean, I do, we do kind of see that in a general sense, like, and so you just want to be sure that your attitudes, that you're excited about lots of possibilities for them too.
And then also, you want your student to be at a school that's a good match for them and a school that wants your kid. That's really important.
Yeah.
And just don't focus on the schools that have 5% admit rates or anything. It's just crazy. I have a question that I hope can be answered. Oh, it might be political, but I don't think it is. My daughter is interested in geology, and that is not at every university. Even when the university has a major, it doesn't always have the particular focus that she needs for the master's degree she is interested in. Geology has been one of the programs I've seen recently getting the axe, not to mention general loss of funding. How would you advise students evaluate the likelihood that a department will stick around, especially if doing an undergraduate degree abroad is not an option?
First, I would say to get into a master's program for a thing, you don't have to have done the exact thing undergrad. So don't.
Absolutely not. Sometimes you need some training though.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you need some stuff, but like it's, like if you wanted to, major in GIS or something, you could, undergrad do general geography at a school that doesn't have GIS specifically or something, so there's a lot of these kinds of things where it's okay. I mean, I also am seeing geosciences cut. I do think geosciences, it's definitely a field where they need people in the future. So I'm not too worried about it long term, but we don't really know, like, yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to say right now, it's hard to advise right now. That's the takeaway there. There is things being cut, absolutely.
I would read the tea leaves on that. Make sure there's a backup program at the colleges that they're looking at that would be also good to lead them into the fields that they want.
And if it doesn't say what grade we're dealing with here, so if they're younger, high school, you got some time.
Yeah, I think that 3 years from now, I think we're gonna know what the attacks on higher ed have done to higher ed to some extent. We won't see the full trickle down, but as well as what because some of this is just demographic, as well as what some demographic shifts have done, because there's just fewer young people who are headed to college. Just because there's fewer young people.
There's fewer young people. It's just the way it is. Okay. We have so many questions this time.
Keep them coming. Roll them through.
I need coffee.
Do you want me to read some for a little bit?
No, I'm good. I like this. Any tips for a twice exceptional learner who's burned out of high school and classwork in general? If we decide to do this, we'll be homeschooling for the first time. So any tips for helping students make goals, good books, online class recommendations? My kids were twice as exceptional. Homeschooling is a wonderful thing for 2E students. I think especially for teenagers, if they are completely burned out of the regular high school and you're just switching to homeschooling, I would play to their, I would listen to them and let them be part of the planning process, first of all, so that they feel they have some say in it. Sometimes in a school setting, students don't feel like they have much say or input. And I would also look at providers who are high input, low output. There's several homeschool providers so that you have balance. They have balance in their schedules. They're just not doing work. They're burned out. And I have Moth Learning. We specialize in working with students who are twice
Mhm.
exceptional or have any sort of disabilities. That's a good one. Most of our courses are high input, low output, but there are several others.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Book clubs
Yeah.
are great. Read a book once a month,
Mhm.
meet and have a lively discussion.
Mhm.
And then math, there's just going to be output for math no matter what. And English, you just got to plan for that. I would just, oh, wait, also, they have school burnout, the shyness, and lack of competitive drive, so they don't really involve in too many activities. I worry colleges will overlook them because of it. There'll be a school for that
Options
student.
for, yeah, there's
Yeah,
college options for,
yeah,
the thing that I would, I mean, the thing that I would caution is that like homeschooling can be a miracle for these kids, like who really are burned out of school, who
it
have
doesn't
really been
work every time.
struggling. But yep, it is not a magic pill. And
Especially if there's
there,
something major going on.
yeah, and there are some additional challenges, honestly, because you're not going to like the same building every day and getting the same reminders, like to get this done,
Yeah,
get that done, get this done, get that done. Like, so there can be additional executive functioning burdens with homeschooling. And
yeah,
so,
yeah,
if a student has deficits in that, like you really have to structure that a little bit more for them than you might have even when they were in school.
and there's going to be a
Um,
learning curve, and you should be
yeah,
checking in constantly during that learning curve.
especially during, the first 6 months to a year at
Yeah,
least. And then,
yeah,
I mean, I would say also like for kids who have some social anxiety, which sounds like maybe in this case, possibly, but, that's a situation where you want to be sure that you're not allowing them to retreat entirely because it can be easy to do that in homeschooling. And then, you sort of wake up a couple years later and the problem has gotten worse because they have
right.
not been exposing themselves to, I have to be out in the world in new situations sometimes.
We
And
were just talking
so,
about this before we got on, actually. I'm not
uh-huh,
quite sure how, yeah, we were talking about this. So I think that's very important to make sure they're doing a little something to build up that confidence in some
yeah,
ways.
like find an in-person thing and make, or force your kid
Yeah.
to pick an in-person
Yeah.
thing and make it non-negotiable. A job, a volunteering thing, a local class, a co-op, whatever it is. Um,
And I would say if there's too much anxiety to do that, then figure that out first and then do it.
yeah, then fit,
Don't
yeah.
don't don't just make homeschooling this cozy thing that they don't have to ever push themselves or anything, because that's going to cause an issue when it comes time to go to college. And also by doing these little things and taking little steps, it builds up their confidence, which is so important.
Yeah. Mhm. And in a
Yeah.
different context, because clearly school wasn't the
Yeah.
context for them. So
No.
figure out an
No.
outside the home context that will build that up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you talk about the concept of having a story for the application? What are some
Mm.
examples? What to do with a student who has multiple interesting things they could include? Hmm. So, are we talking about the student story that they're going to tell
Yeah, I think that ideally, the whole thing is a story, like your paperwork and the
together
student's essay and activities and, all of
in
it
their
kind of works
application? It should
together.
all come
Yeah.
together as a story, but it doesn't have to be this story that you've thought out and you're like, oh, this is so going to hook them in and everything. It's just think about some things you want to highlight and make sure it's there. If a student has multiple interests, that's not a bad thing.
No, like this is a Renaissance kid who dives into everything.
Yeah.
That's a story. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
and just to be clear, like you're trying to convey a big picture idea of a student through a bunch of different little things. This is not like a complex dystopian science fiction novel with a lot of characterization. Like it is literally
Right.
one line. It's like this is it. Like
A
it's
concise
this,
story, a very
it is
concise story.
right, exactly. It's like, this student struggled, but, dual enrollment turned a corner. Like that's the whole story. Like there's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
like that's a whole story. So don't, and obviously they're more than that and that will come through, but like, you don't need to script anything super complex, but think about like
No.
what's that top level one line thing and then just ask yourself, did all of this check that? Did the letter and the profile, when you look at the transcript, like, this student loved politics, like that's a story. And, does the transcript
Does
say
it
that?
pop
Do the
up?
activities say
Yeah.
that?
Does it
Did you
pop up?
mention it
Yeah.
in the letter? Like, yeah.
Or I think a thing that's really important that a lot of schools are looking for right now is students who are really involved in in-person activities or engaged in the community. That could be the story if the person likes a lot of things. And then does that show up
Yeah.
everywhere? That's a good story. I'm feeling worried about what colleges and universities will be safe in 2 years with all these cuts and changes. Thoughts? We could do a whole Facebook Live on that. There's a lot of changes happening right now on a lot of different levels, actually, that have me a little on edge and worried.
The changes to student loans are just devastating.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just devastating because if the goal is for students to have less debt, that is not what this is going to accomplish.
No.
There's going to be a lot more predatory lending. It's just really sad.
It's going to be really hard on low income students.
Yeah, and it just so hard on low income students, and it just makes me angry. I think that most large public university flagships are going to be mostly safe. I think that schools that are, these schools that have high endowments and low acceptance rates are going to continue.
That's not the schools that are, that I'm worried about.
Me neither. Everything else, I think, you're going to have to question, I think that a lot of those schools are going to survive, but some of them won't. And that includes like your regional public schools. And some community colleges are probably going to consolidate and shut down also. And a lot of small liberal arts schools that have higher acceptance rates. And also like small, Catholic and Christian schools also are going to see a big pinch from this. They're all under attack, even though the headlines are like, oh, Columbia, Harvard, a lot of the sort of trickle down, those schools have endowments. I mean, I don't want to say like that doesn't matter, but like, because it does, but it really, it's these schools that are smaller, that are serving lower income families and students, that are going to see the hardest hit. And then some of these schools that, and none of this includes schools that were not on the cusp before, like schools that were doing just fine. And so, the changes to how student loans work and so forth, like all of that is, and changes to endowment and taxation and so forth, all of that is going to change.
I think we're not going to know. I just think so much is up in the air that it's really hard to say anything for sure. The thing is, you just got to keep abreast of all the changes and guide your students as best you can. Yeah. I feel for parents who have like a junior and senior, because I just think, whereas freshman and sophomore, I think you'll know a little bit more by the time it comes.
So. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really hard right now. My son, my youngest, has his last year of school this year, and I am so happy. I'm just so thankful that my kids made it through, and because we were a low income family, and some of these changes are just horrible with the loans and everything. It's just terrible.
I mean, my son is graduating at the end of this coming year from his undergrad program, and then he is going on to grad school, but that's going to be tuition free. And so I'm really thankful for that.
Thankful. Yeah.
Very thankful for that. He already has his acceptance. He was very proud. But I know, but also I have to tell you, like, I've, like I was at UVM and I talked to a couple students and, who are graduating and they're like, well, I'm heading into grad school. And I think that that's because, the job market has just dramatically changed overnight for some fields.
Yeah. My youngest
both because of the government and because of AI. Yeah.
Yeah. My youngest was like, oh, I don't want to go to grad school. And now suddenly he's talking about all the schools he's going to apply to for grad school. So I think that's happening. So I don't know. It's a weird time out there. It's a very difficult time. This is a good question. I have a rising junior who I held back a year in middle school due to his complex health history. He's a very, very hard worker, getting great grades, especially in honor science classes. with accommodations. He aspires to pursue a mechanical engineering degree and will have completed Calc 1 by the time he graduates. It's great.
Okay.
When he applies to colleges, do we need to address holding him back in middle school? I have been reluctant to enroll him in dual enrollment classes as he needs time to process information due to severe brain fog. I am enrolling him in AP chemistry this year, his first AP class. How important is it for a kid shooting for an engineering degree to have DE and AP? Blah, blah, blah. He's not shooting for selective universities. I also continue to debate if he's better off getting some college level experience while he's at home so that a full college schedule isn't such a shock to his system. We live in an area with a very strong community college that is considered among the very best in the country. So I expect rigor from any DE course he takes. I know DE classes go on his permanent record, so I worry about that. First thing, I had a kid with complex health history. He took an extra year in high school. Sometimes that's needed. You can address this if you want on your parent paperwork. I did, but I didn't have it. He didn't skip a grade in middle school. So you don't really need to talk about that, but you can talk about his complex health history. You can absolutely give some information so they realize that you didn't give them the option to enroll them in DE classes, dual enrollment. You can just say that wasn't offered at your home school, unless you choose to do that. And AP coursework wasn't offered until junior year. You can say those things. You can give information around that. You can talk about the disability if you want. I would have a conversation with him whether he wants you to do that or not. Whether he should take dual enrollment classes now to get used to that, I think that's a family decision almost. And it doesn't always.
I would strongly consider it though. That was my first thought. Just
will see, but with me, you can absolutely keep your eye on the withdrawal date because if it's not working, just withdraw. The drop date or the withdrawal date, and that's fine. I will say that my oldest son, who had a lot of health issues, did not do dual enrollment. He did a few APs, and he did fine with admissions, and he did fine once he got to school. It was absolutely fine. So it just depends. Yeah. Listen to your kid, and
yeah. I think that's Listen to your kid. I think that's
yeah. If a kid has done a really extensive internship, is it better to give academic credit and list it as a class or list it as an activity? There's not it should be an activity. I wish there was more information on how many activities there are on the activity list.
Yeah, like holistically, there could be a reason not to do it that way. Like it's not but like my knee jerk is activity.
Yeah. I'm putting a question here, blah, 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 about the UVM. I have wondered for a while now, and I imagine others might too, how would a university know whether dual enrollment classes were synchronous or asynchronous? So that's interesting, actually. And does it need to be in person? I will say, when my youngest went to Colorado College, he had done Russian 1 and 2 at Nova online. They did not give him credit, and they knew it was online.
Yeah, there's a bunch of universities that won't give credit if it was online, period.
Yeah.
They know.
They know.
When I'm talking to admissions, increasingly I'm asking about this because so many homeschoolers are using this, and I definitely have gotten some shrugs, but I think that this is why this mentioned UVM is that I asked it and I got a and so because I was just like, so are you do you care about I think sometimes it's obvious, ASU Universal Learner and you live in North Carolina, they know, so they can tell a little bit, but also if you tout in your school profile, we prioritize in-person dual enrollment, they'll know.
I tell that to I'm working with all the parents right now, and I'm like, is the dual enrollment in person? And if it is, we put it in the school profile. We absolutely are highlighting in person. I'm trying to think how Colorado College knew that Decca's Russian was online. I think on the transcript, it's
coded on the transcript.
Yeah, it was coded on the transcript, and he couldn't even, that was the end of the discussion. He was just not getting credit for it. Period. So,
yeah. I don't know.
What is your best advice for helping the teen who has always been interested in learning about everything when it's time to apply to colleges, especially when they are considering some very specialized majors, think nursing or a BFA or both? So they realize they can't realistically do both.
You really cannot.
Um,
That's one combo I don't know where you could do. You could never do
Nursing
that.
and fine arts. Someone should offer it. It'd be awesome. Um,
I think you could do like maybe a BA or double major. Like nursing and double major is like almost impossible. Like every once in a while
yeah,
you hear that it happened.
yeah. I apply to liberal arts school and then let them explore things. I mean, but it's so hard if it's nursing because you have to, and it's so hard.
But you know what? You know what though? We need nurses so badly, and nursing direct admit for
Yeah,
undergrad is incredibly competitive. But nursing
yeah,
as like master's second career is not competitive as long as you have the requirements. They will take so many people, and there are so many funding programs for that. And it is not necessarily a long term, degree. It depends
yeah,
on which nursing you're going into. So I guess I would just sort of say like you're not closing the door to nursing if you don't, go into that. Like this is the whole purpose of liberal arts.
yeah, yeah. Okay, that was post one and all the questions. I've got two more to run through. So I was
Okay.
just, because there's now three places where questions
Well,
are.
we're gonna run out of time. Okay, keep
We
going.
are. So any questions that we don't get to, one of us will answer
Yeah, one
afterwards,
of
and
us will
maybe
tag on too.
um, and the reason why we're going to run out of time is because I'm starting to shake a little bit because my blood sugar is like,
Are you some
okay,
nuts?
well, yeah, can I virtually have those nuts?
I just like handling.
Um, okay, there's one question that we can definitely just answer
Mm.
on here. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just trying to see if there's one that needs a little bit of a explanation. How important are awards? Can you give some direction on how that might be meaningful for teens who are primarily self-directed learners and prefer not to participate in any competitions?
Prefer not to, then oh
Yeah.
well, that's fine.
Okay. When you're at a high school, there's all these awards, right? And they're giving them out, and you can put it down. But homeschoolers just don't have those type of awards and stuff. So just realize
Yeah.
that. Um, I
Yeah,
wouldn't I wouldn't worry too much about awards.
if your student doesn't have any awards, that's not a big deal for admissions. Like even,
No.
they could get into Harvard without awards. It's just not that type of,
Yeah. They're not looking at that very closely.
no. I mean, if they have
Um,
something that, and they, but it's the time they spend to get it. They'd rather see students spend time.
yeah. I've seen transcripts categories by year or subject. Is there a standard? I would say yearly is probably more
It's your
standard, but you could do either.
default. Yeah.
Yeah. All my kids did subject transcripts and it worked for them. I mean, no one's going to be like, oh no.
Yeah.
Um,
I think NCAA may require year by year, but like in general, it's or that the year be on there so you could do it.
yeah. So
Like
you can see it.
you could,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. My favorite transcript right now is the regular year by year, but then the credit distribution
I
at the
like it.
bottom.
Yeah, I like
I'm
having a
like,
credit distribution. Yeah.
it's like my favorite. Okay. Any feedback on SAT versus ACT? It doesn't matter.
Whichever one your kid does better on, that's the one.
Yeah, have them take a practice exam on both because sometimes students do better on one than the other.
ACT,
Um,
it tends to be a little better if you're fast. But also like ACT is changing a bunch right now. They're the one that's changing more.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a question on international admissions from a few parents. I'm going to link our international admissions video after this because we just don't have the time to go into depth. You do have to plan differently if you're thinking international admissions. It is going to be test heavy for a lot of these countries, so keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But also, if your kid did a bunch of APs in ninth, they may not accept them, and so it's just you really need to research the requirements quite closely. And I will put a link for that. How expensive is it to hire a counselor? You can see our rates right on our page if you would like to. I'll put that up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Do you want to say anything about that?
you know what? There's a huge range of
There
prices.
is.
And with homeschool classes, I often say you get what you pay for to some extent. I would not say that about consultants. There's just quite an array of pricing. If the prices sound insane, don't do it. But on the flip side, it doesn't cost nothing. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't, and it's a privilege to be able to use counselors. I mean, just to be honest, they're also asking how early you can start. We work with students from eighth grade and up on a full package.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you
but
can't
also,
afford, wait, I just want to say something. If you can't afford a counselor, I did this with my kids without having anyone help us. There are so many good resources out there, including this group and lots of other groups. Although, don't get too bogged down in our groups because they can also be completely depressing and bad advice. But you do enough research and talk to people, you should be able to get through it. And there's also there's also free resources for lower income families, so be aware of that.
And also, just be careful if you're lower income taking advice about which colleges are expensive and cheaper on online. I find that that's the worst advice. Is wealthy parents are convinced that they need to tell low income parents not to apply to meets needs schools.
Don't listen to that.
I don't understand it. I think that wealthy people are just jerks is all I can sort of come up with, like, as to why they would do that to low income families. Like, I just don't know why. But
to be low income, you really need to run those net price calculators everywhere. Yep. Look at the schools that are meeting full need, and then apply widely. And it's really hard. Sometimes Questbridge, I'm going to do my plug for Questbridge because I always do.
Yeah.
My students were Questbridge kids. Questbridge is a wonderful program for low income families. We help 2 families every year who are applying through Questbridge. Yeah. So if you qualify for that, reach out to us. We'd be happy to help.
And and I would say also that if a good consultant will also, and we do this for families, like, you can use us strategically and pay for like an hour, and we will try to pack it in. So
yeah, absolutely. Can you define the credit distribution I was just talking about? It's just a little section on the bottom of our transcript where you show the amount of credits in each area. So if a student's gone really deep in an area and you want to highlight it, that's a really wonderful way to do it.
It's a way to do it. It's a way to have the year by year so that you are primarily showing like, hey, this student built in rigor over time and sort of checked the boxes every year, which students have done. And yet also like pull out a set of those courses and be like, look at this focus on technology, or look at this focus on arts or whatever it is, social studies. So that then when they glance down, they can see immediately like, whoa, this kid got 9 credits in this area. Like, that's a lot. So that it stands out.
Yeah. Yeah. I had another post with a bunch of questions and do you see any questions that stick out to you that you want us to answer?
I don't know, because I don't know where they are. Are they below the video? Did you check those?
No, I did that. It's like this post I posted this morning, I think.
Oh yeah, I saw that one kind of disappear. Like
Facebook. Oh no, that's the one I did do, I think. Maybe it's the one on just to let everyone know I get low blood sugar and it's like I'm starting to get it, so not thinking too straight.
I mean, I see okay, you answered that one easily. Yeah, no, it's all good. I think you got him. I think you did it. We did it.
Maybe. If we didn't, feel free to ask more questions. Maybe we should do this again because we had a lot of questions, but I feel like it was pretty good. Right? Yeah.
So,
any last minute advice or anything you want to say?
No. I don't know. I'm in the midst of planning like my classes at AIM for next year. So
and how's that going?
I like those classes. I mean, my graphic novels class kicks butt. So yeah. And you've got book clubs next year.
I have 2 film classes, which I'm excited about. I'm doing my introduction to film again, and then my advanced film studies course, which there's some really good topics in that one. So I'm super, especially horror and queer cinema. That's going to be really fun.
I teach that film is lit class. It's just a chill English class. It's very chill.
We talk about film way too much.
Yeah. I don't know how that happened, but yeah.
Well, I majored in it, so we're just always...
Oh, yeah. There you go.
And then I'm doing 2 book clubs. I'm doing a fantasy book club, which is almost filled. We have so many students in that, but I think we have space for 1 or 2 more. And then a mystery book club because mysteries are my love. I love mysteries more than anything. And we definitely have space in that. We also have an environmental book club for kids who love environmental. We have a geopolitical book club, and we added a middle school book club. That's we're going to try it out and see how it goes. So we have a middle school book club too.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got to plan all that. And I'm going to get back to the States in mid-August, I hope.
Yeah. And you're
so
not
I'll
gonna...
see you then.
Yeah.
And then we're going to start our podcast, which I promised, but then it got too hot. We're starting a big podcast, so we're excited about
Is that why we're not doing the podcast yet? Because it's too hot? It is too hot.
It's too
just
hot.
To be clear.
I have no air condition. The south of France did have air condition for a week. I was super happy about that. But I'm just hot. I'm like,
why I went to Canada. Like, I even have air conditioning. I had to go to Canada.
Yeah. England doesn't usually have heat like this, but this is consistently hot heat for a long time. So it's killed me. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you.